June 15, 2025, 5:10 in the morning. A former army aviator lifts off from Guptakashi. Breath analyzer check done. Pre-flight done. He checks the valley CCTV feed. Clear, good to go. He flies to Kedarnath, offloads passengers, takes on 6 more, begins the return leg. Then the cloud banks move. That was his last radio transmission. The helicopter hit a hillside near Gaurikund and burst into flames on impact. 7 people died, including a 2-year-old child. Preliminary reporting pointed away from an obvious mechanical failure. The pilot was still on the radio, still trying to act. In cloud, in a narrow valley, that may not have been enough. That kind of accident has a name: controlled flight into terrain. And it is the first of 4 reasons this route keeps killing even experienced pilots. Do stay till the end of this video to know all the 4 reasons of these helicopter crashes.
Pull up.
Kedarnath helipad sits at roughly 11,755 feet. Every Char Dham season, huge numbers of pilgrims arrive at base helipads, Guptakashi, Fata, Sirsi, and board helicopters for a flight that can take only minutes, but passes through one of the most unforgiving corridors in Indian civil aviation. The question is not why one pilot crashed, the question is why this corridor keeps producing the same accident shape. In roughly 40 days in 2025, 5 helicopter-related incidents were reported across the Char Dham circuit. 13 people died. In the Kedarnath sector, multiple cases pointed back to the same pattern. Not just individual error, not just bad luck, not just one bad morning, but a system operating with thin margins, incomplete weather intelligence, limited traffic control, and strong commercial pressure, all at the same time, on the same route, every single day. Controlled flight into terrain. Let us be precise about what those words mean. Controlled, the pilot has not necessarily lost command of the aircraft. Flight, the helicopter is still flying. Into terrain, it hits the ground anyway. The June 2025 crash was preliminarily described as a CFIT type event, and the October 2022 Bell 407 crash in the same sector followed a hauntingly similar pattern: deteriorating weather, reduced visibility, terrain impact, 7 dead. Same valley, same kind of trap, years apart. So how does a functioning aircraft flown by a competent pilot hit a mountain? The Mandakini Valley exit is narrow. Terrain rises hard on both sides. Morning operations can encounter fast-moving cloud banks that slide in from the peaks and erase visual reference almost instantly.
Visual reference lost.
Once you are inside that cloud, the problem is brutal. No horizon, no terrain reference, no clean separation between mountainside and sky. Investigators found pilots were relying heavily on valley CCTV visibility checks because Kedarnath still lacked the kind of dedicated aviation weather infrastructure this route actually needed. Here is the deeper problem. CCTV tells you what the valley looked like when you checked it. It does not tell you what the cloud is doing right now. Pilots were using CCTV cameras to decide whether to fly through a mountain valley. Not weather radar, not live mountain meteorology, not sector ATC. Cameras. I want you to imagine being in that cockpit. You checked the feed before takeoff. It was clear. Halfway home, you cannot see anything. You do not know exactly where the terrain is. You do not know how far the cloud extends. You do not know what information the helicopter behind you has. You make a decision in seconds. with less information than the risk requires. This is not just a pilot problem, that is a system problem.
Factor 2 of 4. Density altitude.
Factor 2 is not the officially proven cause of this crash. It is the background condition that makes this route unforgiving on every single flight. At about 11,755 feet, the air is thinner. Engines lose performance. Rotors generate less lift. The gap between the power you need and the power you have gets smaller. That gap is your safety margin. At sea level, it is generous. In a Himalayan corridor on a warm day with passengers on board, it can become uncomfortably tight. Now add geography. Inside the gorge, there are very few forgiving places to put a helicopter down if something goes wrong. So a smaller power margin is not just a technical inconvenience. It changes the consequences of every weather surprise and every delayed decision. This matters because mountain flying is rarely killed by one factor alone. It is usually the stacking of factors that become lethal. If you were an operator in Kedarnath and regulators forced you to reduce your daily flight count on paper, what would actually change? The queue of pilgrims does not vanish. The revenue pressure does not vanish. The valley does not widen. The weather does not slow down because a form was signed. The physics of the route does not care what the paperwork says. And a system can become dangerous long before it admits that it is.
Tower Blue 650 volt.
After the October 2022 crash, the investigation made two important recommendations. Install an aviation meteorological station at Kedarnath and create an ATC facility for the sector. By the time of June 2025 crash, those key recommendations still had not been fully put in place. That matters because visual flight rules depend on visibility. If cloud closes the corridor, a pilot needs fast, reliable aviation-grade information, not guesswork, not delay, not a camera feed from minutes ago. The pilot departed into a valley that appeared clear. By the time he was coming back, the exit was reportedly engulfed. Without sector ATC, no one was actively managing traffic through that valley in real time. Without a dedicated aviation weather station, no one was delivering the kind of local cloud intelligence mountain flying demands. Another following pilot reportedly avoided the same cloud bank and made it out. Same valley, seconds apart, different outcome. The distance between survival and impact may have been nothing more than who knew what and when. We started this video with those words. Now you know what they really mean. Cannot see anything means the valley exit had likely disappeared into cloud. No horizon, no terrain reference, no visual certainty. Turning means he tried to reverse course, which sounds like the right decision because instinctively it is. But in a narrow mountain corridor inside cloud without precise positional awareness, the right instinct can still arrive too late. He appears to have made the survival move. The mountain was already there. This is why accident reports can sound cold, because the difference between a pilot made the wrong choice and a pilot was given no safe choice is everything. Before the post-accident curves, reporting placed daily helicopter movements in this corridor at roughly 200 to 300 a day. After restrictions, the number was pushed lower, but still left the route intensively active. That means dense traffic through a narrow valley with unstable weather, limited local control, and operational pressure that does not disappear just because everyone knows the route is dangerous. Past enforcement history matters here too. Operators had already been pulled up over rule violations in the sector, including low flying and operational breaches, which means the warning signs were not invisible. They were visible and survivable until they were not. Inside the cockpit, pressure rarely arrives as a direct command. It arrives as a cue on the helipad, a schedule that is already slipping. a weather window that looks usable for maybe 10 more minutes, a commercial machine that makes just one more round feels normal. The pressure does not touch the controls, but it absolutely touches the decision. Four factors were acting on that cockpit that morning: CFIT risk, thin high altitude margins, missing aviation infrastructure, and commercial pressure. And now comes the part the news almost never says clearly enough. The most dangerous pilot in Kedarnath is not always the one who is experienced and afraid of the clouds. It may be the one who has flown through marginal conditions enough times for the abnormal to start feeling routine. Aviation safety has a phrase for that: normalization of deviance. If enough risky flights end safely, your brain stops filing them under danger and starts filing them under normal operations. The cloud cleared last time. The margin held last time. The valley was flyable last time. So the unacceptable becomes familiar, and the familiar becomes standard. This is why experience is not always a shield. In the wrong system, experience can become the mechanism that teaches people to trust a dangerous pattern. That is not a character flaw. It is what weak systems do to strong operators.
Pull up.